Hello, my name is Kent Philpott. I'm pastor of Miller Avenue Baptist Church in Mill Valley, California. This is Monday, May the 23rd. This is going to be the last YouTube I try to post here on the Judgment Day, Harold Camping, and so on. Just some final thoughts after looking at everything and reading everything I could and having some long discussions with other folks who are well familiar with this. And I just have a couple of thoughts I want to share. I'm thinking that the whole thing may go back to the very first prediction that Mr. Camping made, and that the failure, of course, and the supposed idea that he knew the date of the rapture, second coming, etc. Well, what happened was it meant that a lot of the churches who had been supporting him, a lot of the local pastors, they shied away from that. They didn't endorse that. And there was an accompanying anger toward the churches. I lived through that part of it. I'd long been a fan of KEAR, Family Radio. But then there was a sudden switch, and all of a sudden, the true believers were outside the church, and if you were inside the church, well, that represented something very bad and very negative. When he's saying that the church age ended in 1988. Well, so the prediction failed, and he was angry that he began to be more and more isolated, and it led to the second problem, that in his study of Scripture, he basically stepped aside and avoided any kind of accountability. People with whom that he could discuss his ideas with and was open to, and he just began to pontificate. And those poor people around him, perhaps employees, simply had to either rubber stamp what he said and agree with him, or they would be fired, rejected, shunned, and so on. It is the rather classical development of a cultic or toxic mentality, where you agree to just go along even though you might personally reject the ideas. So I think that we have an anger that was directed at the churches that really pretty much determined a theology, the ending of the church age. I mean, how do you come up with that? Pull that out of a hat? There's no direct biblical evidence about that at all. And even in your attempt to make such a case, almost no one would agree with that. You just have to agree if you want to get along with Mr. Camping and hold to him and not turn away from him, because he's been a great influence for the good in many people's lives. Anyway, that's my final evaluation of the situation, and we just hope that people that are going to wake up and turn away from that and realize that churches around are not perfect. There are always certain problems with churches because we have to deal with real life people and have a degree of accountability, and learn how to love other people that are different from ourselves, and get along and be flexible in situations that we don't always agree on all things that go on. Well, so hopefully that people will be able to get over that and realize that part of Harold Camping's move toward error was the coming out of the churches thing, based on error and strange and unusual interpretations of Scripture. So long.